Hello and welcome to Catalyze Music Academy. My name is Zaak Kerstetter. I'm an Ableton Certified Trainer. And for today's quick tip, I want to do a little bit of sound design on a sound I like to call the twirly arcade sound. I have no idea whether it's actually called that. If you have a better description for it or better name for it, please let me know in the comment section below. But it sounds a little bit like this. This kind of sound, I hear it a lot in all kinds of different styles of music, a lot of like bass music. You can like put it in between your bass line, even for things like psychedelic things or like house music, you can put it as like a background, really kind of like pretty atmospheric sound. There's lots and lots of uses for it. And it's pretty straightforward and pretty easy to make once you kind of know the basics of it. So we're gonna start from scratch over here on this track, and I'm gonna be using Wavetable, but honestly, you can use almost any synthesizer you want for this. So the key for this is going to be going into your MIDI effects and using Live's Arpeggiator. If you haven't been using Live's Arpeggiator, it's amazing, definitely worth checking out. But basically the way this works is if I hold down a single note, it's going to repeat that note, like that. If I hold down multiple notes, it's going to alternate between those notes. So if I play 3 notes, it's just alternating between them. So we can do things like adjust the rate here, so we can make this go faster or slower. So because we're gonna be doing this pretty fast, I'm generally gonna just start with like 32nd notes to 64th notes to make this kind of sound. The gate is going to control how long it's going to play that note. So if I turn this up, we're going to get more extended notes versus if I turn this down, it's going to sound more kind of quick and choppy. On top of that, the key to making this kind of twirly arcade sound is going to be the steps control. This is going to add in extra notes on top of the ones we're already playing. So if I take a steps of 1 and I play 3 notes, it's going to play those 3 notes in the octave I'm playing, and it's going to play another 3 notes in the octave higher, and it's going to alternate between all 6 notes. Like that. The distance the steps is set right here. It's already set to an octave, so we don't really need to touch that. So if I set this to be something like 4, 3, or 4, we get these longer arpeggiations between multiple octaves. So if I turn this all the way up to 64th notes, we get these really fast arpeggiations, which is going to be the basic starting point for this sound. On top of that, the other thing we can do in Arpeggiator is adjust the style. Right now it's going from the lowest note to the highest note, but if I set this to be down, it's going to start high and then go low. So we can play around with that and like do all kinds of different patterns and things like converge and diverge, which are pretty awesome. We'll come back to those later. So within our synthesizer, we can almost do whatever we want. It's really kind of up to you. We can start by just playing around some of the basic shapes between like a triangle, a saw wave, and a square wave. Those can all work depending on what kind of sound you're going for. The one thing I would recommend doing is we're going to take our sustain and turn this all the way down, and then start adjusting our decay to make it sound a little more kind of plucky. So you can kind of adjust that to taste to kind of see where you want it. Sometimes I'll give it a little bit of a tack, and that'll give it a bit more of a smoother feel, depending on where you want to put that as well. So you can try out that. And then from here, we can really get creative with it. We can start playing around with different oscillators. We can also try different effects. So one thing I really like to put on here is a delay with a pretty fast delay time, something like 1/16th note. And let's turn it on ping pong mode. Sounds pretty cool. Maybe a little less feedback on that though. Let's also make this a little bit more complicated by going to our second oscillator, and let's make this something a little more interesting. Like, let's go into the complex folder and see what this sounds like. Sounds pretty awesome. On top of that, if I want to add some kind of like motion or movement to this, I could go to like my LFOs and maybe apply a little bit of LFO to my oscillator 2 position. One thing I would like to point out is that if you're using something like Wavetable, there is this R right here for retrigger. If this is turned on, it's going to reset your LFO every time there's a new MIDI note, which is all the time. So we're not getting the full extent of our LFO. So if I turn this off, it'll actually move up and down. And we can actually use our LFO to control things and make it still sound good. But that's basically it. If you want to like customize it from here, maybe toss on some reverb, you can go nuts with other effects. You can even try like putting some unison on it and see where that gets you. Try different waveforms, try out different settings on the arpeggiator, but this is a pretty good standard starting point for this kind of sound design. Hopefully you found that useful. Hopefully this is something you've heard in songs before and maybe have been wondering how to make it. It's pretty easy and is a lot of fun to do and is just useful in a wide variety of situations. So hopefully you enjoyed watching that. If you did, please feel free to subscribe to the channel. I come out with videos every Monday and Thursday. On top of that, feel free to check out our website, catalyzeacademy.com, for info about classes and workshops and other things that we offer. And on top of that, if you have ideas for topics you'd like to see covered in the future, feel free to leave those in the comments section below. Again, thanks for watching, and hopefully I'll see you again soon.